going to be all these profile videos. And I hate my profile. Alright, sorry we're starting late, but I'll talk fast and make up for it. Before we get started in this, any specific questions anyone has? Anything you need help with? Really? I don't believe it. No one has any challenges, any struggles, any situations? Alright, so let's talk about the topic and we'll see if you guys have any challenges there. Alright, who has a challenge keeping a schedule? Alright, now of those people that just raised their hand, who has a schedule? Alright, so half of you. So if you don't have a schedule, you can't have a challenge keeping a schedule. The first ones that raised your hands, you can't do that. Who has enough time to get done what they need to get done? Alright, a couple people. So that means the rest of you don't have enough time to do what you need to do. Are there people you know that have the time to get things done, but they get done more than you do? Probably, right? And do they have more time? Do their days have 26 hours? 27? Probably not. Or do they have the ability to slow down time? Slow down their clock so they get more done? No. So what's the one thing you have control over? It's yourself, right? So, people use the phrase time management. Can you actually manage time? Right? You can't manage time. What can you manage? Yourself. You can manage yourself. You can manage yourself in relationship to time. So that's the issue, is managing yourself. I read the little thing that Lisa sent out about the topic today. And my girlfriend read it, and she goes, well, she didn't list this, and but I rattled off like 7 other things that I do. So how does that happen? How do I have time to get things done? And probably more than most people. And some people don't do 10% of that and don't have enough time to do that 10%. What's the difference?
Delegate.
Okay, delegating.
Commitment.
Organization.
Focus. Okay, discipline. All those things make a difference. All those things will impact your ability to get things done or not get things done. But there's just some really basic things. And one of them, you guys said, is focus. Focusing on the thing that needs to get done, the most important thing. Something I've gotten good at out of necessity is getting the thing done that needs to get done in that moment in time. So, day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment, getting done the thing that needs to be done at that moment. And if it doesn't need to be done during that moment, then I do it at another time. So, do you think checking my Facebook account is something that needs to be done a lot?
No.
Or ever, almost. The news, MSN.com, or any of those other things. No. Are there things that need to be done, but they don't need to be done during business hours? Right? And so, do you think I do those things during business hours? Fill my car up with gas. Yes, I still put gas in my own car. But I don't do that during business hours. I wouldn't take 20 minutes to run to the gas station, go do that during the day when I need to be spending that time. I mean, because here's the reality of it. And I like what I do. I love what I do. So some people go, oh my gosh, I would hate that. Well, and you might. But I love what I do. So the fact that every minute of my day is scheduled is fine, because it allows me to get done the things I need to get done. But if I need gas in my car, I'm going to do it at 5 in the morning on my way to the gym, or 7 o'clock at night when I'm running an errand, or those type of things. I'm not going to take the time to do it during the day. Just little things like that. Thinking, okay, is that something that has to be done during this time of the day? So I wrote down some notes, and I'll just share these guys with you. This is a quote I heard a long time ago. If you do not conquer yourself, you'll be conquered by yourself. Right? What does that mean?
Take control.
Yeah, you gotta take control. So if you can't control yourself, if you don't have the discipline to manage yourself in relationship to time, something is going to control you. So I get to manage myself. I don't get managed. You know, I'm not controlled by the things I need to do or the time that I have to do them. I get to choose when I do those things. I wrote that time management is really life management, personal management, management of you, rather than that of time or of circumstances. Time's perishable, it can't be saved, it's irreplaceable, nothing else can ever get it back, and it's indispensable, especially for the accomplishment, for any type of accomplishment. All your achievement, all your results, all your success requires time. But again, the key is the time that you guys put in. It's also the ability to choose the sequence of events. So when you're developing a schedule, you know, what's the first thing that we always say to do? Fill it in with all the things that you know need to happen. You know, so I put everything in my schedule. Every call I need to make goes into my schedule. Everything I need to do goes into my schedule. So then, what's my focus? Is it thinking about who I need to call, or what I need to do, or where I need to be? No, my focus is just following my schedule. So it's always up, it's always in front of me. It's always, you know, it's always right here. And all I have to do is just follow that schedule. If I follow that schedule, then all the things that I need to get done, get done. At the end of the day, it's magic. Right? Now, if I don't follow my schedule, what happens at the end of the day? You guys know, because you live it every day. What happens? It doesn't. You don't get done the things you need to get done. So what happens at the end of your day?
Nothing.
It doesn't end, right? You know, now it's 7 o'clock. Now it's 8 o'clock. You just expand in the amount of time that you allow yourself to expand into. What if you lived in a world with no excuses? If there are no excuses, what would your world look like? Is that just too hard for you to imagine?
I think it's a good one too.
If you weren't allowed to give excuses,
Yeah.
then you'd probably have to get everything done because you wouldn't be able to give an excuse.
Yeah.
It'd be the perfect world.
It'd be for you the perfect world, right?
Everything would get done. They didn't offer the
Well,
excuses.
it would or it wouldn't, but you'd be responsible for it. You would own it. See, do I do everything that needs to happen or that I need to do or that I should do? No, but you'll never hear me. I don't even know how to say an excuse. You know, I live in a world with no excuses. And in my mind, there aren't any. I don't even understand the word really, to that extreme. So I either get something done or I don't. I either do something or I don't, and I'm responsible either way. But there's never an excuse. You know, I work in a place where there are simply no excuses. If someone at Keller Williams Realty International made an excuse about something, there'd be a whole room of people that look at them sideways like, what did that person just tell me? It doesn't exist. So, you know, can you live in a world without excuses? Sure you can. All that is just training yourself. Don't make them. You know, just take responsibility. You either did what you're supposed to do or you didn't do what you're supposed to do. And if you didn't do it, what are you going to do about it? You know, if you had in your schedule to lead generate for 3 hours, and you only did an hour because you screwed around on Twitter or something, or, you know, whatever it was you did, then say, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? I'm either going to be okay with the results, I'm either going to be okay with not achieving my goals, I'm going to be okay with the consequences, or I'm going to make it up. I'm going to do an extra hour on Saturday, an extra hour on Sunday. Or I'm going to stay till 8 o'clock on Wednesday night to make up those 2 hours. If you had a real job, and you had something to get done, and you didn't get it done, what would happen? Because some of you had real jobs, right? Maybe that's why you're here. So what happens if you don't do what you need to do in a real job? Right? You get fired. If not right then, eventually you will. Or you've guaranteed your lack of good. Here, anyone want to talk to Mark Willis? So you gotta treat what you do like a real job. You have to treat what you do like someone was paying you to do, because they are. And in most cases, what you have the ability to make far exceeds what you have the ability to make in a real job. When I call it a real job, I mean, normal where you get a paycheck every day. So you have to treat what you do as a job. And when you do that, then it's easier to stick to the schedule. Now, if you treat yourself like what you actually are, an independent contractor, where no one's really going to stand over you and ensure that you do what you're supposed to do, what happens? Right? You let yourself off the hook. So what does that require, though? To really do that, what does it require? Because I'm not going to be watching over you. Lisa's not going to be watching over you. Your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend isn't, well, in most cases, going to be watching over you. So what does it require?
Discipline and
Self-discipline.
And a commitment and a discipline. And is discipline something that you can create?
Yeah.
Right? It's just a habit. It's a habit like anything else. If you go to the gym on a regular basis, that's just a habit you created. You get up at a certain time, it's a habit. Brushing your teeth, all those things are just habits. Discipline's just a habit, it's just creating another habit. Now, it's a lot easier to create that habit if you're aware of what's going on, if you're aware of yourself, if you're aware of what you're doing and not doing, then it's a lot easier. A lot of people aren't aware of that because they're so caught up in the frenzy of their day, or they're that hamster on the hamster wheel, and they don't take the time to really look at, okay, what am I doing? What have I been doing? What do I need to be doing? But with an awareness, almost any awareness, it's a lot easier to say, okay, well, look, here are the things I know I need to be doing. Am I doing it? Now, one of the things that always helps a lot is to have really big goals and a lot of desire to achieve those goals. And if you don't have that, it's tougher, no doubt about it. If you don't have strong desire, it's a lot tougher to do the things that you need to do to get those goals. So that requires, again, real basic stuff, right? Having a goal that's really important. The type of goal that you say, okay, I'm willing to do what it takes. If I say, what price are you willing to pay? What price are you willing to pay to get that goal? You say, I'm willing to do what it takes. So when I want to achieve something, I know if it's important to me or not based on, am I willing to do whatever it takes? And I'm really honest with myself, if I am or if I'm not. But if it's something that I am willing to do whatever it takes, then I know it's important, I know I'm going to do that. Now when I say I'm willing to do whatever it takes, I mean within reason, right? I'm not going to kill someone to get over to here, or I'm not going to commit a crime to accomplish something, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. It's the willingness, okay? You don't always have to do whatever it takes, it's just having the willingness to do it is what matters. That's the attitude that allows you to accomplish things that you may not believe even yourself you can accomplish. Does that make sense? All right. You guys are really quiet today. I know I haven't been here in a while, but maybe Monica whips you when I'm gone every time you speak up or ask a question. All right, questions so far? Challenges, things where you say, well, yeah, that's great, Chris, you do that, but, you know, I'm having trouble doing that, or I can't do that.
So do you kind of write your schedule every morning for your day, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, my schedule's just ongoing, but I review it, you know, every night for the next day, so I know what's going on.
The night before.
I always do it the night before, look at my schedule the following day. I also, first thing in the morning when I come in, I look at my schedule for the day. I'm looking at constantly, now my schedule changes a lot because there's a lot of things being scheduled. Because I have a lot of calls and meetings and conferences and Skypes and all those things. So, you know, I have to watch it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I review it all the time. That is my focus. I mean, my focus every day is just watching my schedule and then, you know, following it.
You keep like a things to do list, and like when things pop in your brain, you're like, oh, okay, I gotta add that to the list. And then what's your communication process for getting all those things done with all the staff?
So like a lot of times it happens when I don't know about for you guys, when I first get into bed, like all these things. So I have a Post-it note and a pen near my bed, so I just write it down. So in the morning, there's usually 3 or 4 or 5 things that, you know, I wrote down that I thought of, that, you know, I want to make sure I do, or something I remembered, or thought I had. And if you don't, you'll forget about it, and you'll remember 3 days later and go, crap. So that's one thing. The other thing that I do is and some I mentioned before, I delegate a lot of stuff. So I'll do emails where I'll work with my assistant in a way where I'll email her and say, and maybe it's just something I thought of, like a to-do thing, Robbie, and I said, talk to me about this tomorrow, or see me on that, or hey, I need you to call this or do this, or, you know. So I'm delegating a lot of those things out, and delegating is a big part of it. I mean, and it's not just having someone to delegate to, but knowing what to delegate and how to delegate, and do it in a way that is real efficient. If you don't have someone to delegate to, you know, if you don't have an assistant or a partner where you've divided up the tasks, there's other people that you can delegate stuff to. You know, there's people that help us in our business that can help you with certain parts of your business. You know, there's the affiliates and people that will help you do some of the things that you may be doing on your own. There's just, you know, again, thinking it through, you know, and knowing what your time is worth. You know, that's one thing I did really early on. I think my first year in the business, I looked at how much money I made my first year in the business, and I think it was 60. I think I hit 60,000. And so I figured out, you know, how much I worked and how much I made on an hourly basis. And then I was watching all the other agents in the office doing stuff that at the time you could pay someone $5 an hour to. You could pay someone $5 an hour, you'd have people line up, I'll do it. So I was like, okay, this is crazy. I could be paying someone $5 an hour to do those things, and if I didn't have to do those things, I'd have this much more time to make X amount an hour. So I never looked at it as an expense, adding someone on. It's just an investment. You know, I was hiring someone or taking someone to take care of my stuff so I could then make more money. Is the best investment that I could make. Did that answer your question? Was there a second one?
The communication, which you answered it, so.
Yeah, so the communication, again, is I just make sure everything's written, everything's in email. I have different notebooks I use. I have one I use just for all the conference calls I have. So every time I'm on a call with someone, you know, in my other job, I'm talking to people in other countries all the time, so I just put the date, who I talked to, and what it was about. And then when I talk to them 3 weeks later or a month later, I know exactly, you know, what we talked about, what the stuff was. My assistant, you know, if it's a follow-up call or someone else, she'll always tell me what we sent them after the last call, so I know what information we gave them, or, you know, what stage in the process we're at. Just, you know, and it's the same thing with handling, you know, transactions. You know, using the checklist, having your communication log, getting the stuff out of here onto paper or into the computer. You know, free your mind up so you aren't bogged down with all the little details that we get bogged down with. Does that make sense? Just give me one of these. One of the things too, and I've talked to you guys about this before. Anyone have a vacation coming up real soon? Alright, when's your vacation?
December 8th.
Okay, I mean, alright, so that'll be fun. But like real soon, in the next week. Anyone leaving for next week? Alright. When are you leaving?
This Thursday.
A week from today? Alright, so have you already gotten into the mode where you're like in hyper speed, where you're getting extra things done and all thinking about all the things you need to get done before you leave?
Maybe,
Yeah, and if not, by Monday or Tuesday you will be. As you get closer, all these things will be coming up in your mind, right? All the things you know you need to do. You guys have all taken vacations. The 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days before, what are those typically like? Are they productive or are they unproductive? Well, they're usually highly productive, right? Why are they highly productive? Because you know that there's a deadline, a finish line that you have, and at that point, when you get on that airplane, or in that car, or on that boat, then you have no more time to do those things you need to do. So what do you do in the 3 or 4 or 5 days prior to that? And you are really efficient, right? You're really efficient, your effectiveness, your efficiency goes up. Because you're getting more done. You're thinking about all the things that need to happen, all the follow-up calls, all the people you need to contact, all the things you need to do, all the loose ends that you need to tie up, and you get all those things done. Well, what if you operated every day like that? You know, what if every day you had a finish line? Or every week? Would you be more productive? What if you had so many things in your schedule that you had to be that way? Would you get more done? That's how I do it. There's not an option. There's not an option. So I have those things done. So my efficiency and my effectiveness goes up. Those are 2 things I can control. You know, I can control how efficient I am with my time. I can control how effective I am, you know, in the amount of time that I have to do something. Those are things that you can improve on, you can increase. You can't change the time. So we all know we can do it. We all do it at certain times, right? Again, vacation, you know, if you have kids and they're getting ready for a trip or to start school or something, you know, you will get everything that needs to be done. You'll get it done because again, there's that deadline. So create the deadlines for yourself. Give yourself an ending time of the day. You know, say, look at, here's my schedule. Here's when it starts. Here's when it ends. And here's what I'm going to do in between it. Now, if you choose to go longer, to stay longer, to overachieve, to fill in what you didn't do during the day, if you weren't great at following your schedule that day, that's fine. But give yourself that finish line. And again, it's just a mindset. You know, if I say, all right, all you guys, guess what? Next Thursday, we're all going on a cruise. This is paying for it all. And you said, and all you got to do is just get your stuff done in time, and it's all paid for and everything. There may be 1 or 2 of you in this room that wouldn't get your stuff done, but the majority of you would get everything done. You'd figure out how to do it. And you'd get more done between now and next Thursday than you probably did between last Thursday and this Thursday. And what's the difference? A thought that would fit in your mind with an event that's coming up. So it's just that mindset. You control your mind. You control what happens and what you do. And that's really probably the biggest challenge people have is controlling themselves, controlling their mindset. But it's a really weird thing. I mean, you think about it. If you're not controlling your own mind, who is? You know, the TV shows, your clients, some stranger that cut you off on the freeway. You know, it's like, who's in control here? That's why the whole concept of excuses is so bizarre to me. Oh, I was too busy. What does that mean? Okay, so you didn't manage your time, you're not efficient, you're not effective, is what you're saying. You know, it's you control that. I wrote, you know, not having personal goals and objectives always causes a problem in relationship to time. If you limit the amount of time you work, you force yourself to be effective in the time that you do work. So let's talk about schedules for a minute. So about a third of you said you're challenged with following your schedule, and half of you said you have a schedule, which is interesting. But so our schedules. Do you have to have a schedule? Let's talk about that first.
Yes.
I don't think you do. Is it more effective to have a schedule? Yeah. Is it? Can you be more efficient with one? Absolutely. Can you achieve more? For sure. Does anyone that achieves anything at a high level work without a schedule in any profession? No. There's no way. So I think we'd all agree then that having one is important and is beneficial. So in all a schedule is looking at the days that you work and figuring out when you're going to start and when you're going to end, and then what goes in between. And what goes in between is real easy. You start, we just ordered I keep a wall calendar in each of my offices because I'm visual and it helps me to see it. So we have the 12 months of the year, and the first thing we do is we block off all the times that I know I'm not available. You know, family reunion, mega camps, vacations, holidays, different things that I know I have to be at. So that just gets blocked off, you know, right off the bat. All the times that I have my kids, all the times I don't have my kids, you know, when their school schedules, all those things get done. And then it gets broken down into, okay, on the month, you know, what things happen. You know, and so everything goes on there. And, you know, so we have 2012 up because there's already stuff being scheduled in 2012. And we put all those things on there. So it allows us to be a lot more efficient with those things. And then on a daily basis, what are the things you need to do? You know, there may be every Thursday you say, okay, I'm committed to getting better in any way, in every way that I can. So every Thursday from 11:30 to 12:30, I'm going to be in the training room. And every other Tuesday, when do we have our meeting? Every Tuesday? Every week?
Every week.
Okay. So every Tuesday at this time, you know, I'm going to be at this meeting. Or I have a networking group at this time. So you put all those things in your schedule. You know, I'm going to go to the gym, you know, 4 days a week during this time. I'm going to have my golf lesson at this time. Whatever it is. Your role play time, your practice time, your lead follow-up time, your lead generating time, your showing time, your presentation time. All those time slots go in your schedule. You know, dry cleaning. My dry cleaning gets dropped off on I don't know, Monday mornings, I think. Leave it with the guard Monday mornings, and then pick it up whenever. So that's all I have to remember, right? Those type of things. You can tell I don't do it because I don't know what day it is. I think it's Monday. But all those things, right? All those things happen. They all go in the schedule, and then your job becomes a lot easier because then your focus is on one thing. It's on the schedule. It's not on all those things you have to do because they're all in your schedule now. Now, if you don't put them in your schedule, then that's challenging. You know, then you're having to remember stuff. You're having stuff that conflicts with something else that you were planning to do because you didn't put it in there. So my suggestion is obviously start with the schedule, but put everything in it. You know, and on a daily basis, you're looking at it. And the schedule's a live, you know, living thing. You know, it's not something that's set in stone that you do it once and say, okay, I made a schedule in January, and you know, here we are in October. No, it gets altered and changed and added to and modified, you know, on a daily basis. But if your job is then just to follow that schedule, then what's important? Obviously, it has to be someplace that's visible, right? So it's got to be either, you know, on your smartphone or your iPad or your computer or your day timer or day planner or whatever it is you use, whatever system you use. It doesn't really matter as long as you have a system, what it is. And then it's helpful if everyone in your world knows what your schedule is. So, you know, my assistant in Austin knows what my schedule is. The gal that runs our front office here, she gets to see what my schedule is. So when I'm here, she knows what it is. So the people that need to know my schedule. My clients always knew my schedule. You know, they always knew when I was available, when I wasn't available, when I was going to be contacting them, when I could get back to them. You know, so there's no upset. All the expectations set. All right? just look at the notes I had. I've already skipped around and hit most of
We
these.
typed it in a big font.
I know, that's great.
Chris, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
In regards to burning out, I mean, you've got to occasionally experience burnout, right? You
Well,
yourself.
I don't know. When you say burnout, I think a lot of people, depends what your definition of burnout is. Do I get tired? I get tired, and when I get tired physically, then mentally things are more challenging. Do I get burnout, meaning that I don't like doing what I'm doing? Yeah, that's happened, and then I just stopped doing what it was that I didn't want to do anymore. When I was 20, I got my real estate license in 1983, right before my 21st birthday. And for the next 3 years, I sold timeshares. And I worked 7 days a week because I could. They would let me. And we did, on weekdays, 2 or 3 presentations. On weekends, it could be 4 or 5. They were 90 minutes long. And when you weren't doing that, there was other stuff you were doing. And after 3 days of that, one day I was just burned out one day. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I've lost the desire. So then I went and did something else. That's the only time I can really say I experienced burnout on something. Now, do I get tired? Yeah, I get tired. I mean, my week, the weekend is like most people's weekend. It's it's where I recover. But by Friday, I'm tired because I pack a lot in. When I'm in well, it doesn't really matter whether I'm here or in Texas, but I get up early and I usually work in. I work a lot. I'm usually I'll take time off for dinner, go to the gym, do those things. But I usually have calls at 8, 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night. So after 4 or 5 days of that, then physically I get tired. When you're physically tired, it's harder to do things. It's harder to have the discipline. It's harder to be as mentally tough, as mentally sharp. It's harder to follow your schedule because it's just your body, isn't able to keep up with your mind, and your mind gets tired too. Was there a question, or were you just asking me if that ever happens?
I generally wanted to hear what your, just your general thought process on that too. Have you continually modified your schedule over the years to, I guess, ebb and flow and listen to your mind and your body to see what best works for you?
Like last night was a good example. I went to bed. I didn't look at the clock, but it was probably like 10 o'clock, which is early for me. There's a lot of nights it's 11 or 12. So I was like, I'm tired. I gotta get into bed, early. So there's nights where I just will do that, or I'll say, there may be times where I get up early to work out, and it's like, I can just tell this is not going to be a good thing to do. That I am just, my body's not going to get any benefit. I'll do more harm than good. So say, an hour of sleep is going to be way more beneficial than an hour of exercise when I've already exercised 15 times that week. Yeah.
When do you take a day off?
Well, usually on the weekends.
Oh, so that's usually as a newer agent, it's usually a busier time, wouldn't it be?
See, I didn't work weekends as an agent. So, statistically, Sunday's the slowest day of the week, and Saturday's the second slowest day of the week. If you look at MLS statistics of when homes get listed, when they go into escrow, when they're pending, when they're contingent. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't work weekends. I'm just saying I didn't. That's the time that I took off. I also, as an agent, I rarely worked at nights, or I'd allow myself a few nights of the week to work. But I was really good about compartmentalizing things. I didn't take calls. It was easier too when we didn't have cell phones. Because if you went to the office, you could get a call, and no one ever had my own number. If you're going to work on the weekends, if you choose to work on the weekends, then you pick a day during the weekday. Say, all right, I'm going to work, whatever, Thursday through Tuesdays, and I'm going to take off, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or whatever it is, or I'm going to take off every Wednesday and every Sunday, or whatever days you're going to take off. But you have to have the days off to do, other stuff. And the weekends, again, weekends as an agent were never busy for me because I never did open houses, and I didn't show buyers. So, you know, if there was anything happening on the weekend, it was responding to an offer that was coming on one of my properties.
Not that there's anything bad with working with buyers or doing open houses, so.
Yeah, I focus 100% of my business on getting listings. Now, did I have buyers? Yeah, but for the most part, you know, it was a better use of my time to collect 35% on a referral fee from an agent I referred them to than for me to go spend, you know, 17 hours with a buyer. And back then, that on average, it took 17 hours to close a buyer. You know, there weren't computers, there weren't listings that they could go look at online. You know, it was us finding the properties for them.
Okay, so you see we have to have the willingness. I have the willingness to do everything that's on my list. But I like to finish things and I like to knock them out. But what's happening is I'm playing catch up. And when the time runs out in the day, it leaves with me. Even though I know it's time for me to go,
Yeah.
but I don't like having things hang. So when mindset, probably part of it. But
Mindset, but it also may be an efficiency and effectiveness issue too. So by efficiency, I mean, you know, procedures, systems, checklists, those things allow you to get more done in a shorter amount of time, or delegating, or how you delegate, or who you delegate to. Effectiveness can be a skills issue. If you're doing something on the computer, the higher skill level you have at getting that thing done. For example, a CMA. I can do a CMA in 3 or 4 minutes. It may take someone else an hour to do it. My assistant could do a PowerPoint presentation in a half hour. It would take me 3 weeks. So you know, there's that issue too of you know, your effectiveness, which is your skills. Your efficiency and your skills, you can improve those. The other issue too is prioritizing. You know, if you'd like to get things done, which is a good thing, a good characteristic to have, you want to make sure though that you're prioritizing things, and it's not just about crossing things off or checking things off. It's about getting the most important things done, getting those done first before you go on to the other things. And that's a challenge for a lot of people, is understanding priorities, but probably equally as important is understanding why it's important to prioritize. You got to do the most important things. That's why I always did my lead generation first, because as an agent, there's nothing more important than lead generating. Because without lead generating, there's nothing else to do. All right? If you don't have any leads, you don't have any listings, you don't have any buyers, you don't have any paperwork, you don't have any escrows, you don't have any inspections, you have nothing else to do. So the most important thing as an agent is your lead generating. So that should be the first thing you do. Why is it the first thing you do? You know, how many interruptions are there between 8 and 10 versus 4 and 5? 4 and 6. You know, how's your energy level between 8 and 10 versus 4 and 6? How's your you know, mental state of being at the end of the day versus the beginning of the day? You know, by the end of the day, you've been beat up, you know, 7 different ways. Beginning of the day, you haven't. So prioritize what needs to happen. And really looking at, does this thing need to happen? Does it need to happen today? Is this something I can do later? Like, there's things I'll do at night because I can do them at night, and it really doesn't matter. There's other things that I know need to happen during the day. Or I'll do them in the morning at a time where, you know, I'm not going to be doing anything else during that time. So, and then again, looking at what you're putting in your schedule. You know, are you doing things that you shouldn't be doing? You know, a lot of times as agents, we end up doing things that we really don't need to be doing, or that someone else could do, or we could do it in a specified period of time on a certain day. You know, so it's really taking a look at. It's part of what you need to do to work on your business, right? So every day we're working in our business, right? You're getting up, you're getting ready, you're hitting it hard, you're going all day long. You're working in your business. But you have to have the time to work on your business. Now, for years, that would only happen when I was on an airplane, usually to a real estate conference. And then it'd be like, and all the ideas I would have and all the things I would get done, I'd be working on my business during that time, but the rest of the time I was just working in the business. And then I realized, wait a minute, I got more good ideas on this 2-hour airplane flight than I have in the last 2 months because I had nothing else to do but to think. So then I started scheduling time in my week to just work on my business. And that's what you need to do, is schedule the time. And it may be a 2-hour slot once a week, it may be a 2-hour slot on a Saturday morning, whenever, wherever, I don't care. But have the time to work on your business. Actually look at what you're doing, how it's working, what's not working, what you need to change, what you need to implement, what you can cut out. Does that make sense? So without looking at your schedule and watching all day long, I can't give you real specifics, but
my schedule's dead on. It's the database, the past clients, the leads that aren't ready for the next 3 to 6 to 12 months. That I feel like it's a constant. I have a stack that it's just gotten, and I guess the best thing's gonna be is just to 10 a day, 20 a day, aside from cold calling and just.
Yeah, just a system of putting them in. It could be, I just used to use a box, with the days of the week and the months of the year, and it's just like, these are the ones I need to call today. We're sending out so many note cards a day, but just again coming up with a system to do that. And if you're consistently having trouble with a certain part of your schedule or with a certain task on your schedule, then it's figuring out, okay, this obviously isn't working for me. What do I need to do? I need to do something different. I just had something recently. I don't know. It was something I was doing, and it just wasn't getting done. And it was just becoming. It was using a lot of energy. And one of the things I measure things by is how much energy it takes. How much energy it takes to have to do a certain task, how much energy it takes to interact with someone, how much energy it takes to work on a certain part of my job. And if something takes a lot of energy, then those are things I go, okay, I gotta change. I either need someone else to do this, or I need a different system. And so that way it's and you know what I'm talking about, right? It's the things that suck the life out of you, when you do it. And things either give you energy or take energy, and that's it's being again conscious and aware of what those are. And if something's taking a lot of energy, say, okay, well, what do I need to do differently to make it so this isn't happening? Do I need to be doing it? Is there a different way I can do it? How could I do it where it'd be enjoyable, or who could help me with it? What are the challenges? And in a lot of cases, it's usually who can help you with it. That's what I always use my coaches for. What else? What other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, what's the actual system? Do you use Outlook or you use your wall calendar? Is that the main way to do it?
No, everything's in Outlook, and but we also put all my travel in things big things that I have going on, like events, on the wall calendar. So if someone says, well, like today, I met with my bookkeeper this morning, and she said, when are you going to be back from California? And I said, all right, I'm here till Wednesday, and then I look at the wall calendar, and I'll be back November 7th or whatever the date was. Or when trips are and those type of things. I just like to see those. It's easier for me. But everything is in Outlook. Like if you look at my Outlook schedule on my phone, you'll just see hour by hour what's there. And I schedule out everything. I mean, I know which days I'm going to have time. I have between 12 and 1 for lunch, and what days I don't. Or which days I have time to go get something, and if I don't, then the night before, I go buy my lunch and I bring it to work, and just plan that stuff out. Today was a good example. So I knew I have to go down to San Diego as soon as this is over, and then I have a 2 o'clock conference call, and so I'm not going to go get lunch. So I just brought something in the car. I'll eat it on the way. So everything's planned for.